Ben Whittaker, Liam Cameron. Light heavyweight fight. What a interesting scenario that was. Ben Whittaker got out there and probably won the first round or two, but the tide was quickly shifting, and Liam Cameron was coming out, and you could tell he was winning the rounds then, and it looked like he was turning the tide where it was only going to go downhill for Ben Whittaker at that point going forward, and it was only going uphill for Liam Cameron. And then we have an interesting situation occur. Round 5 comes to a conclusion, and I'm not one that speculates. I'm not one that makes rumors, nor am I one that spreads false information. I go by facts. What happened was two dudes, Liam Cameron, Ben Whittaker, were tumbling over the ropes, something I don't know how many times has ever been done before in boxing. Can't recall too many of those instances. Go tumbling over the ropes. Medical teams come out. They both get hurt minorly to some extent. Ben Whittaker just doesn't get up. And what ends up happening is Ben Whittaker then gets wheelchaired on out, goes to the hospital, supposedly has a sprained ankle, and he has potentially something aggravated, a neck injury possibly from previously. I'll discuss that in a moment. And that's what occurs. I personally have not seen anything like that. I've seen people purposely try losing, getting out of a fight. Actually, that happened just this weekend, I believe, but this was interesting. And let me just break this down real quickly, because there's a lot of things I want to talk about this. Actually, before I break it down, let me say this point. What happened was Ben Whittaker, in terms of the injury update from Ben Shalom, his promoter says this. Ben Whittaker is undergoing further assessments on his neck as a previous injury was aggravated by the fall. He also experienced an ankle sprain and will begin a rehab process as soon as he is cleared by doctors and is determined to be back in the ring as soon as possible. Okay. Beyond that, Ben Shalom has also come out now and alluded to the fact that he's going to have to recover. He doesn't know how long it's going to take. Beyond that, he's going to make changes to his mentality and changes to his team. And so that likely means that I don't think we're going to get a rematch. However, that's foolish and ridiculous. And so let me break down this fight now that we're going to get into it. What happened in this fight was a guy in Ben Whittaker who, let me say this. I'll be honest with you guys. I love Ben Whittaker. I am and was a huge fan of Ben Whittaker heading into this fight. I love what he brought to the table. I was excited about Ben Whittaker. I was excited because I thought he was very talented, and I was entertained by every time he fought. I'm very disappointed in what I saw. And here's the reason why. I'm going to exclude the whole incident that occurred, because I don't know exactly what all happened. I don't know proof. I can make assumptions, but that's just assumptions at the end of the day, meant for debate. Here's what I know. Leading up to the weekend, I said this in the preview of Riyadh season card. I previewed this and I said I was interested why Ben Whittaker kept saying this statement. He kept saying that he can actually box and he actually prefers to be a real boxer in the ring. And he kept bringing up this point that, hey, I was a silver medalist in the 2020 Olympics. I know how to box. I'm fundamentally sound. I don't need to do all the showboating. And I was wondering that. I'm like, okay, great, cool story. Why do you keep talking about that? I didn't think that much of it, but I thought of it enough to the point where I brought that up in the preview for the show. And we get out there, and here was the problem for me. The biggest stage that Ben Whittaker's been on his entire career, a worldwide stage, and he goes out there, and he was not himself. Regardless of what was happening that night, whether he was outclassed, whether Liam Cameron's just 10 times better than him, whatever the case might have been, he was not himself. And I know that because he walked out there and he truly was trying to box. And I understand a lot of people will say, okay, the showboating is ridiculous. Hopefully he stops doing the showboating. Listen, that can be your opinion. It's worked in times past with the Drunken Master style. And so far in his career, it's done wonders for himself. It is very difficult for an opposing fighter to try to game plan against a guy that has that type of style. It's almost impossible to game plan against it. It can work, but it's very difficult. And that's what Ben Whittaker's done throughout all 8 of his fights leading up to that fight. And then he walks into this fight, and he's stiff as a board. He's not moving in any way, shape, or form. Not only is he not dancing and showboating and doing all this crazy stuff, he's just staying there, and he looks stiff. He is not moving around. He's not loose. He's just very stiff. He does not look good at all. And yes, he might have won some of the earlier rounds, but he didn't even attempt to be the Ben Whittaker we all know. The one that made him famous, the one that made him so talented, which is why I have to beg the question, what was going on with the fight? Was that really the game plan? And if so, why? And secondly, what was he doing in the ring? And why did he not change anything when he started getting going? It made no sense from the get-go, and I was confused from round 1 to round 3. And then when the tide started turning, I'm like, well, I don't know what he's going to do now. And, well, what he ends up doing is he flips over the ropes and ends the fight. It made absolutely no sense to me what Ben Whittaker was attempting to do in that fight there. It blew my mind, in fact, because it made absolutely no sense why that would be your approach to go in there and fight a completely different style than you ever have done before. And on top of that, you're not only trying to do this new style essentially against Liam Cameron, but you're doing it looking bad. It was not a good game plan whatsoever. It was destined to fail, and it clearly was going to happen. And so, yes, it ends up being a draw in this fight. And so, all I have to say about this is, listen, this has to be a rematch. I understand what I just alluded to a few moments ago, that Ben Shalom is reportedly trying to go talk into getting changes in Ben Whittaker's team and changing that group around, changing the mentality, so on and so forth, just to heal up. We need the rematch happening. If Ben Whittaker goes and fights some other dude not named Liam Cameron, that's going to be a problem. And all I'm going to say is, regardless of if the allegations or not, we cannot deny the fact that Ben Whittaker's image has been tarnished vastly over the past 5 days now. Because not only do people have their own beliefs of what occurred in the ring that night, but on top of that, what we found out proof was that he punched a hole in the wall when he got back to his dressing room. That's not a good sign. That's not a good look either. And then we find out, we see this, we hear allegations that he reportedly took a phone and decided to go in and smash it. That's not a good look either. And so it's been reputation hit after reputation hit. And remember, this is a guy that is famous because of his style, and he's been great at building his brand. Which is why I once again beg the question, what happened? What was going on with his mental state? Because this was not the Ben Whittaker we grew to know and love. This guy was so calm, cool, collected, has great aura about him. It all just fizzled out of the room. It was just depleted from the time he got in the ring to today. And that's why there's a necessity that Ben Whittaker needs to do this rematch. There cannot be another fight that Ben Whittaker goes and pursues. It must be Liam Cameron, and it has to happen. And listen, Liam Cameron's reputation has skyrocketed. He's signed by Queensberry Promotions now. And when we look at that from that perspective, Liam Cameron has now garnered the respect of countless people around the world. And if we're going to be honest, in a rematch, I think a lot of people are going to be going for Liam Cameron now. It is what it is. It's the boxing game. But that is why Ben Whittaker needs to go out there, get ready for that fight, make the rematch happen, and prove who he is. Put on a Ben Whittaker masterpiece and show the world who Ben Whittaker is. And if he doesn't, well, you guys can already guess what's going to happen from that. It's not going to be pretty. It's going to be a snowball effect that will derail his career greatly. So he needs to make the rematch happen. There's no other ifs, ands, or buts about that.